Right here. And it's not even on here. Freddie's not here.
Already forgotten, Brady.
Not forgotten, just explaining why I didn't call it in.
Okay. And next is citizen comments. Okay,
There's one person that has attended.
so does anybody wish to make any comment from the Zoom?
Nothing so far.
Okay,
Like Kevin Howland, Kevin.
Not sure, just say it doesn't matter. It's Kevin participating anyway.
okay.
Let's move.
All right, so then next is the confirmation will confirm the Lake County Clerk canvass of votes from the April 4th, 2023 nonpartisan election and proclaim winners. The passage of Public Act 09406447 abolished local canvassing boards and now requires the county clerk as election authority to serve as the canvassing board. The results proclaim the following: were elected to serve as members of the Board of Education of Mundelein Elementary School District 75 for a full 4-year term. Christy Fingerhut, Emily Carl, and Georgina P. Mendez. So I would make a motion then that the Board of Education of Mundelein Elementary School District 75 approve the final abstract of votes for the April 4th, 2023 consolidated election as canvassed by the Lake County Clerk.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then next is the appointment of President and Secretary Pro Tem for the reorganization. To launch the process of organizing the new school board, someone must be selected to serve as President Pro Tem until the board elects a permanent president. The president of the board is the first officer to be elected and immediately assumes duties of the chair to preside over the election of other officers. Temporary secretary should also be appointed to keep a record of the board's actions. The secretary pro tem may be a board member or a district employee who customarily performs the board secretary's duties. So I would nominate me as president pro tem and Eric as secretary pro tem.
Second.
All those in favor?
Oh, yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, then the next is the adjournment of the board sign die. And as much as there's no further business to come before the board, a motion to adjourn sign die.
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Second, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Kids.
Yeah.
Okay, the next is the administration of the oath of office for the new board members.
We gotta get a second. We gotta get Christie a chance to get the stuff there.
So, I think this accidentally supposed to say Mendez, but that's okay. You're not. She's not here anyway, so.
I think we'll have that.
I think we have the same stuff.
Shane, can you do the honor?
Yeah. Each board member, before taking his or her seat on the board, shall take the following oath of office. So, who's up? You're ready.
So we have, it's not just Georgina, it has to be both of us too, since we're doing it again.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody was elected. So yeah, Christie and Emily will do it.
Okay.
He's just gonna read it and then at the end, you're just gonna confirm yes,
Mhm,
Polly, so that you don't have to repeat everything.
right.
Beautiful.
I do your name, so I
Emily.
Christy, Fingerhead.
do do solemnly swear that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of a member of the Board of Education, Mundelein Elementary School, District 75, in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois, to the best of my ability. Further, I swear that I shall respect taxpayers' interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school district's assets. I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members and others who seek a hearing before the board, while respecting the privacy of students and employees. I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual, and that decisions can only be made by a majority vote at the public board meeting. I shall abide by majority decisions of the board, while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels. As a part of the Board of Education, I shall accept the responsibility for my role in the equitable and quality education of every student in the school district. I shall foster with the board extensive participation of the community, formulate goals, define outcomes, and set the course for Mundelein Elementary School District 75. I shall assist in establishing a structure and an environment designed to ensure all students have the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework. I shall strive to ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement and all conditions affecting the education of our children in compliance with state law. I shall serve as an education's, let's do this again. I shall serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students in our community school to advance the vision for Mundelein Elementary School District 75. And I shall strive to work together with the district superintendent to lead the school district towards fulfilling the vision the board has created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills, knowledge, citizenship, and personal development.
I affirm.
There you go.
Same.
Ditto.
Thank you, Shane. You're welcome. Wonderful job.
Thank you.
All right, the Board of Education meeting will now come to order at 5:14, May 11th. Secretary, please call the roll call.
Fingerhut?
Here.
Kinsky, here. Carl,
Here.
Rose,
Here,
Mendez absent. Delatier here.
Just reflect the time in the right column. 5:14.
okay. The next then is the reorganization and the nomination of officers. So nominations are now in order for the office of president, and a member of the board may nominate any other member, and nominations do not require a second. Nominations for president.
Now's the time you would say somebody that you would nominate.
Nominate Christy Fingerhut.
Okay. Christy Fingerhut is nominated. Are there any other nominations for the office of president? Are there any further nominations for the office of president? Are there any further nominations for the office of president? Okay, a motion has been made to nominate Christy Fingerhut to the office of president. President, or the secretary pro tem will now call the roll for voting on the office of president.
Kinsky. Aye. Carl,
Aye.
Fingerhut,
Aye.
Rose, Delatier, aye. Mendez absent.
Okay, Chris Fingerhut receives the majority of the votes cast and is elected president. Congratulations. The newly elected president now assumes the duties of the presiding office and conducts the election of a vice president and a secretary following the same procedures.
Nominations are now in order for the office of vice president. Any member of the board may nominate any other member, and nominations do not require a second.
And nominate Ray Rose.
Ray Rose is nominated. Are there any other nominations for the office of vice president? No. Are there any further nominations for the office of vice president? We'll ask for a third time if there are any further nominations for the office of vice president.
No.
A motion has been made to nominate Ray Rose to the office of vice president. The secretary pro tem will now call the roll for the voting on the office of vice president.
Carl,
Aye.
Pelletier, aye. Hitzke. Aye. Rose,
Aye.
Fingerhut,
Aye.
Mendez absent.
Ray Rose receives the majority of the votes cast and is elected vice president. Congratulations. Nominations are now in order for the office of secretary. I nominate Eric Pelletier. Eric Pelletier is nominated. Are there any further other nominations for the office of secretary? Are there any further nominations for the office of secretary? Make a final call for any further nominations for the office of secretary. A motion has been made to nominate Eric Pelletier to the office of secretary. Secretary pro tem will now call the roll for the voting on the office of secretary.
Mendez absent. Rose,
Aye.
Carl,
Aye.
Hitzke. Aye. Fingerhut,
Aye.
Pelletier, aye.
Eric Pelletier receives the majority of the votes cast and is elected secretary. Congratulations. Now we need to, I don't know if there's any other instructions in that folder over there, but
No, you just
Okay,
go through
that's fine.
committees and set review.
no problem. So did we want to wait to do the committees then? Did we say we're gonna do the committees then when Georgine is here?
Want to do that?
I mean, I think it makes sense since we all know the committees, but
Unless, the-
especially with two missing, that's going to make it harder unless we just tell her, but I don't know her schedule or what she
Right.
prefer or her strengths or I don't know her, so.
so we'll always have the one missing. So I think the only thing would be is if you think amongst the five of you right now, there might be some movement you'd like to consider. Of changing any committees, maybe have that discussion now, just so you know.
And not finalize anything?
Right.
Okay, I think that makes sense, especially since there's some new, there's some changes, so. We need two board policy people, where for the last, since Lisa resigned, we'd had just one, so we are gonna need two people. I am willing to be one, but I don't have to be if somebody else wants to step up to do that, just putting it out there. We need two for finance advisory. I know Freddie was one past, so there definitely would be an opening. I don't know if Ray would like to continue in that capacity, which, you know.
Yeah, I would.
I
Okay,
think Ray's done an excellent job.
Yep.
I agree.
agreed. And continuity is important for that too, so that makes sense, but just wanted to give you an out in case you decided you wanted something else. Shared services. Was that Kevin and Eric before? So I don't know if you have an interest for
Emily
interest.
started.
Yeah,
Emily
I
and
filled
Eric
in
have
for
been
Kevin at
going.
the end too.
Okay.
Mhm.
Do you guys both want to continue in that capacity, or
I'm
are
happy
you
to.
expressing an interest in continuing?
I'm happy to.
Yes.
Okay. And then. Parent teacher advisory and or behavioral interventions. Is this a new one? Because I
Yeah.
don't recall we had this one before. Right, I was talking yesterday.
So when we went through our board policies, it's one of the things that we noticed we needed to reactivate. That's why it's on there.
Okay.
So just as a point, I went back and looked at 2021's agenda and it was on there, but we never filled it.
Hmm.
And the other change that was on the other one from 2021 was on the representatives. Community outreach showed 2 members. That's the only appointment or representatives that has 2 members. So I don't know if we need 2 members.
I don't know why that changed. However, I think it's a good idea if we have 2 people that are interested in doing it, only because I know that one of that part of the duties of that are attending the village board meetings, which are more frequent than say this. And so if maybe somebody couldn't attend, then at least that gives another option. And also because we've talked about as a board in the past, wanting to move forward, doing more community, whether that be town halls or other things. So there may be opportunities that 2 people could do that.
Because you bring up another point, because the community outreach, for example. I mean, I was never able to determine what.
Yeah.
That position was and what I was supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
And going to every board meeting doesn't make any sense, because, I mean. If there's issues that are coming up that affect the district or the community and so forth, I could see that, but going to every board meeting. There's 2 a month, for 12 months, so. One of the things we might want to think about in the future is finding what the expectations of the committee are, so everybody knows.
Right.
But the other thing, following up on what you just said. And we've talked about it. That I think we should consider creating 2 additional communities, and one is a community relations committee where we start to build and enhance specifically to the community. And we can define what that means, but residents, parents, businesses, so everybody knows who we are and we get to know them and have an interaction. And the second committee that I think we should consider is a student relations committee, where this board is starting to interact with students. I think, I don't know if it was Emily sent something out and then you resent it, where was it Fremont was doing things, I think that's pretty powerful stuff, and I think as we're moving forward, that gives us an opportunity to start enhancing what we're looking to do and start moving forward and building these relations that are significant and important to the community.
I agree with you, but I mean, community outreach and community relations to me overlap and say about the same thing, but I would agree that we need to define that further. But I think that's part of why, to me, it makes sense to have 2 people appointed to the community outreach, but I think they would do the things you're talking about with the community relations and dealing with that. I think that's what I hear outreach and I hear relations, to me, that those are similar. As far as maybe not attending every board meeting, but at least monitoring their agenda to find out when things are up that do impact us, because if nobody's monitoring that,
Yeah.
we wouldn't know when it's coming up to ask us to attend, because there may be things that if that person is monitoring, that they're gonna say, hey, there's something coming up, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe multiple of us want to go and attend just to hear, I don't know. Because I don't make it a point, I can, but I don't
Yeah.
right now presently make it a point to monitor their agenda to know what's on their
But
calendar.
then if that's what you're thinking, then we should move, instead of having a representative appointment, move that out and make it a committee. Because if we're gonna be working with, see, the other thing that's significant about this, and you're gonna see it at the next May
Sure.
23rd, is we developed our values. And underneath that, we developed our goals. And underneath that, we created the action plans. So the last piece of that plugs in is the committees. Because they then will be looking at what the values were, what the goals were, what the action plan is, and can tie that into the committees and what they're doing. There's one for shared services, there's one that would deal with finances, there's one that deals with community. And this new committee that's on here with parent teacher advisory and behavioral interventions, there's one in there that talks about. One of the action plans and one of the goals talks about the relationship with the teachers and the union. So it kind of takes everything we've been doing and brings it full circle. So, and we're gonna talk more about this at the next board meeting, so that.
Right, with the strategic,
Yeah.
you mean with the strategic plans on the agenda, right?
Yeah.
To approve the final draft of.
Right.
Right.
And that gives everybody a chance to see it
Mhm.
and talk about it and have an understanding of what that is. Again, so as we start moving forward, we're all on the same page, and everybody understands. What the values are, what the goals are, what the action plan is, and then how does the committees tie into that?
You're saying, your suggestion is to make the community, but I'm just saying, if we were to take community outreach off of a representative appointment and instead make that a committee, that would accomplish the goal you're talking about and,
Right.
and have that, it's just, instead it's shifting it from a representative appointment to a committee so that they,
I almost think we should leave it as a representative and maybe have it like a sub. You know, like part A of the committee. So that one of the people that's on the committee could kind of. Take that in
and I feel like we used to have one called village liaison, but now it seems to say
Yeah.
community outreach. So maybe what we're saying is maybe have one person as a village liaison
right,
and then have a community outreach committee. Is that,
that,
okay?
that would, yeah. Cause you're right, it used to be village liaison and it got changed.
And as far as the parent teacher advisory, I'd be happy to. Be on that one.
The question with the parent or community outreach, what I was hearing was that's an extension of the strategic plan. So
Mhm.
would it be the strategic planning group that's the one that's leading that as part of the initiative of taking the strategic plan forward, looking to initiate with community? Or would it be separate? I'm asking that because I'm thinking about the strategic plan. Do you want the same people that would be able to share the strategic plan with what's going on with that, working with those group of individuals? Doing that same work, right?
So I think what you're saying is it probably makes sense, once the strategic plan is implemented, perhaps transitioning the strategic planning committee to being the community outreach committee as an extension of what the work that you were doing as part of that. Does that make sense? Or do you see a need to have both as two separate distinct
But if-
committees?
Well, the strategic planning committee. I think. It could kind of become inactive. But periodically,
They're
it's
gonna have work
gotta
to do.
take a look at.
You have to monitor it and keep
Monitor
it,
it,
not
because
just
we have to make
create it
sure
and put it in a folder.
We're monitoring what we said we were gonna do, and if we said we were gonna do this and it's not working.
You gotta tweak it.
Somebody's gotta be able to say, hey, this isn't working, let's try this and make an adjustment, so that we continue success. And we continue outcomes that are successful for the board and our endeavors, as well as for the students, for the teachers, for the community. Gotta be looking at what we said we were gonna do, and are we doing it? And if we are, and it's not working, then let's fix it.
Could that be done? So does that need two separate distinct committees, in your opinion, or do we? If one is gonna become inactive for a little while, then they can shift their focus to the community outreach and the things that we're talking about doing.
Well.
I'm not arguing, I'm just
no, I'm
finding
just
out
gonna
what you
say,
think.
'cause one of the other things we could do, when I was talking about the committees connecting. To the finance, and all this, the committees. Could then be the ones looking at. Hey, we're doing this and it's not working, the finance committee. Is looking at
Yeah,
what
part of
we
the strategic
established, the
plan.
goals in the action plan. And the strategic, not strategic, shared services, the same thing, We're doing this and it's not working and. we would have an ability as well to report out. The committee's reporting out and, you know, what they're doing and what's going on.
So I'm still not quite understand. Do you
So
think that means
I
they need to be
think
two
we need
distinct
to
or retweet?
decide on that after you see what the action plan looks like. Because
Okay.
then it's easier for you to understand how this
Yeah.
plugs in.
Sure. Okay. Well, and that's why I was asking if you had a position on it since you have looked at it and I haven't yet. I'm not saying we're voting on it. We're not
Yeah,
finalizing it tonight because we do need to look at that, but. So we don't know yet if we need two separate committees, but we will take a look at that and.
oh, I
decide.
think. My opinion would be we would have two committees.
Okay.
Because I think they would be doing different things.
Okay,
And it doesn't necessarily mean that the strategic planning committee is gonna be meeting every
sure.
month. But periodically, it should have some obligation to ensure that we don't forget the strategic plan, what it's supposed to do, and can make sure we start looking at the next period of time that we want to look at values, relook at goals, so this is an ongoing process.
And I hear you. I'm still trying to, here's my concern, and I'll tell you what's going on in my head. My concern is if we have too many committees, especially if they have two people on each one, that's a lot because often, I mean, then we have to open the building, we have to have, especially if there's two or three, then we have to have, open them up and there's other administrative and I'm trying to be mindful of that as well. And if it's possible that the strategic planning committee and the community outreach committee would be inactive at different points, but able to accomplish that and just keep it a little streamlined. That's what I'm thinking, but I could be wrong. And that's why I'm looking for your input on that, because I haven't yet seen the whole thing. It's just something for us to all think about that. Right.
After you see the whole thing.
Okay.
And then I don't know what your thoughts are on creating a student relation committee.
So I think I'm open to everybody's suggestions. I think there are ideas that we've heard, like at the IASB conference and things like that, where some other boards have had like a student representative to the board rather than having a separate committee for that, that maybe considering doing something like that, or in those other
You
instances.
can make it part of the community outreach committee.
Right, because that's part of
Set it
reaching out.
very well. Yeah.
That's what I was
As long
thinking.
as-
I want it, yes, I want to cover it.
Right.
I just don't know if it needs yet another committee, because I want to be mindful of having too many committees, because then we're doing that. But I do think that the students do need a voice, and we have to figure out how to bring that
Right.
to our board. But maybe that also could be part of the strategic plan that we
Right.
then approve and deal with. Because I like the idea, like we were looking at when Fremont and some other districts, the board, it was kind of part of the beginning of each board meeting, the board recognizes a student. And it could be from any of the schools and,
Right.
it could be nominated by
Mhm.
teachers and whomever. That's just sort of part of the agenda that we do every meeting. And I don't know that it needs a whole separate committee to look into. I could be wrong, but I
Well, you could have community outreach. And then under the community outreach,
one of
A
their,
is
Yeah.
Village liaison, B is student recognition, and C is strategic planning.
we could, or another idea would be that instead of having two members on the community outreach representative, we could keep, and we could change, we could just switch it to village liaison, and maybe we just have one person whose job it is to monitor their agenda. That doesn't mean you have to attend all meetings. Just
Right.
monitor their agenda and report back to us at each meeting when we say, hey, what is your report? If there anything looking like it needs to and then maybe attend those meetings if need be, but not necessarily the expectation to attend every meeting. Especially if they're online too, so it's possible, but at least I think they are.
They are.
But that's, that's how I was sort of envisioning, but maybe instead of having two community outreach, if we're creating a community outreach committee, it doesn't need to be a representative appointment, but maybe we still have a village liaison, so it doesn't have to all fall within the two people that are on the community outreach.
Right.
Especially if we're actually asking them to do
Right.
the strategic planning on the off time, I don't want to overload anybody too.
Yeah.
Does that
I like that.
seem to work? Okay.
While we're on the committees, I
Mhm.
do want to reiterate or share. I know I've heard from the board about the student relations piece. I want to go back to, we used to do that. And it became a part where we were getting that feedback that we were inconveniencing our families by asking them to come to our board meetings. And that's where the discussion happened with the board, saying we want to honor our students and the voice and the families. That's where the emphasis was for us going out to them in the buildings, right? Seeing them at their events and engaging with them even afterwards and saying, hi, I'm board member so-and-so, but that's where that came from. Of why we wanted to do that, and that's part of what the outreach stuff was happening from. I want to be mindful of when we say we want to have people come here. It's not always our family's first choice. It's a nice recognition. I also ask you, as we consider this for next time, there's a logistical piece to this. With trying to make sure who's getting nominated, how are they getting nominated? How are they getting informed to be here? What are we providing them in that sequencing? Because that's not something that's going to fall on the board's responsibilities, right? It's going to come either to myself or we're over to the building principals. So when we think about what we want to do to recognize students, I'd ask that we be mindful of that part also. As we go through this, because there's a lot of great stuff going on with their kids. My personal feeling is the best way we can honor them is by being with them, going through their stuff. So that's the point I just wanted to make.
Got it.
Okay, so from a logistical planning piece, so we've does anybody else, and we don't have to finalize it, but express an interest in board policy? Like I said, I'm happy to stay on that. And maybe that's an opportunity for the new board member, if no one else has a strong feeling for it, which is fine, just kind of throwing it out there. I hear that Emily and Eric probably want to continue doing the shared services, which is great. Ray wants to continue doing the finance, and then there's a potential opening. We'll see.
I'll give consideration to that. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
Sure, that's fine. And then the parent teacher advisory, I heard, Al, sorry. Person over here. And then an opening, so we can talk about it. Again, that's something I'm interested, but I'm happy to kind of see where the holes need to be filled. And what Georgina has interests in too. Strategic planning / community outreach. Emily and Ray, to continue on with that, if you guys are interested in doing that, since you've already started with that. And then we can consider as part of that, because maybe, if we're adding new things, it doesn't have to be added at the next board meeting for the student piece, because clearly we've all talked about, we want to do that, but maybe we need to do some looking into some of the logistics and do that, and then can bring that on the agenda in a future board meeting to figure out how we want to do that, maybe before the next school year, so it's worked out, but we can work on that maybe a little bit over the summer. Okay, and then as of right now, we've got the 3 representative appointments, STEAM Foundation, CEDAL, and then maybe village liaison instead of community outreach if we're making that a committee. And then we will have to amend the policies to discuss all of this at some point, when we get down to it, but so it's all consistent. Knee deep in the STEAM Foundation and happy to continue doing that unless someone else has an undying need, that's fine. You've been doing CEDAL. I don't know if that's an interest you want to keep doing or offer it up.
I would love to keep doing it. I've also been doing it for 2 years now, so if there's somebody that was really wanting to do it, I'd be happy to pass the torch.
Okay,
But I do enjoy going to them and being involved, but
so you're open.
again, I'm totally happy. I know Emily's also a special educator and so is Georgie, so. if there's
Okay.
Any interest, I'm happy to pass the torch if wanted.
So you're open,
But I
you're
would-
willing to do it, but you're open it up
I
and
would
we
like to
can
do it,
discuss
and
that.
I'm also,
Okay.
willing
all
to give other
yours,
people the
Sarah.
opportunity and learn.
Okay. And we can, like I said, keep that kind of open for Georgie.
And that one meets quarterly, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's not much.
Christie, the STEAM one, how
It's
frequent?
monthly and then we do like 3 fundraisers throughout the year. So, and then a few little things here and there. But, right now, they're still doing it on Zoom. Tonight, we're supposed to elect a new president, but I'm gonna be at show choir, so I'm not even sure if there's gonna be a quorum, not just because of me, because of a number of things tonight, so we'll see. But I know the president of that is stepping back and someone else is stepping up, so we're gonna have to take a look at that. So I'm willing to continue that again and still bring the information back to you, and unless someone wants to. As far as village liaison, I could take that over, or you want to keep doing it as part of that? Okay, I didn't know if you wanted to have like a third person, if you were doing the community outreach, or if you wanted to continue with it. Either way is fine. Opening it,
Because
that's fine. I was
I don't
offering you
think
an
it
option.
necessitates, going to every board. meeting.
No, but again, at
Do
least
get
looking at the,
agendas, so
yeah,
I-
looking, yeah.
I think Ray just got a lot of Mundelein knowledge too, so that's a great.
Totally fine. Yeah, no, I was offering only in case he was taking on more with the shared services / community outreach. We just said, I didn't want you to feel like you had to do that if you wanted a third set of hands. So, but if you're willing to, absolutely. That seems to work and makes sense to me. Okay, so we're going to table the community appointments and the representative appointments. From a logistics standpoint, do we have to make that an agenda item for next time to change the name of strategic planning to community outreach? Or is that,
I think you can finalize it at the next board meeting
Okay.
if you like, and then. what
it'll
we
be
would
on the
do-
agenda as part of it?
Do it the next, yeah, probably what would be the July board meeting where we look to update the policies that would reflect the committees, the boards.
Okay.
The new ones that they've selected or the titles.
Okay, so then district reports.
So one part of it is that every time the board reorganizes, it's time to look at the calendar. So in your board packets, what we did is to look, just remain consistent with time and the dates. So this is the opportunity that if the board wanted to move the date or change the time for when the board meetings occurred, for you to be able to have those discussions to do that. The only thing I ask is that we don't put it on typically the second Tuesday of the month, because right now 120s, they stayed at the second Tuesday in the month at 6:30. So
And so we've been doing the
typically the fourth
fourth Tuesday at 7.
Yes.
Okay, just clarifying.
I guess for that, I would like to start with asking you, the administration, if the current schedule has worked.
I think when we've tried to put them, spacing them out, having the week in between has been helpful for making sure that we have everything each district appropriately. That's worked well. So I think the day of the month works well. The only thing that I'd say is maybe for the board is looking back at some of our board meetings when they're longer topics. We've went in 10:30 sometimes. We've gotten a lot better. Not that we got better or worse, but more recently, our meetings have been a little bit shorter. With looking at, do you want to do anything with your time? That would be the one thing that I'd say, just sometimes there's topics that come up and we're starting a little bit later, that's all. So I guess I would ask the board if the date's fine with you, if you'd consider moving to 6:30. That's still workable for your work schedules, being able to get here.
Fine on my schedule. Me as well.
Right, you?
Would be okay with it.
I don't know if I can get here that early.
I will be honest and say 6:30 might be challenging, but I'm hoping, as we were discussing beforehand, to have a third car for my third driver so that I don't have to be the one shuttling everybody everywhere, and then that'll make my life easier to be able to be here. I can probably make it work. Tuesdays are really tough for my family with Hebrew school and everything else, but again, with a third driver, hopefully that will, I mean, they drive, but it's not in the car. If that's what everybody would prefer, I will do my best to make it work. That's all I can say. As far as the dates themselves, I think that generally the fourth Tuesday works. I just wanted to point it out to everybody. I don't expect that we have to change it, but April 23rd is the second night of Passover, which is a Seder. So I will not be able to be here that night, but that doesn't mean we can't do it that night, because I think I'm the only one that impacts. But just pointing that out, that's the only conflict. All the rest, don't conflict with, other holidays or anything else, but that's the only conflict that I saw looking at those particular dates, but obviously I'm one of seven, so it's okay. Right, from one meeting.
6:30 works for me too.
Well, sounds like 6:30, we will at least start out trying 6:30. And as we move along, and then there's nothing in the bylaws or board policy that says, if we find out it becomes not workable, we can look at amending the calendar or the time. Okay, thank you.
Do we need a motion for that or no?
We will at the end, yes. So we'll need to, the motion will probably need to be modified then, Christie. I think we have 7 in there.
Yep.
The other item that I wanted to bring up, under my report was, I mentioned a little bit earlier, we did have a resignation, of Mr. Freddie Gallegos, board member. So what we'll do is provide you kind of the timeline of what we've done in the past for being able to fill the vacancy. What I anticipate is next week we'll post it. So at least we can start getting applications. You'll have some of the information of like the basic questions we wanted to answer. So we'll be taking the same structure that you've provided us in the past. I guess I shouldn't jump ahead. We should send you that information first. You tell us if you want any of that information changed, meaning what questions would you like the individuals to answer prior to coming in for an interview to be on the board. So we'll get that to you next week. Once we have confirmation that, yes, we're good with the questions, then we'll go ahead and get it posted. The idea would be on the May 23rd date, we'll at least then officially have, the board would need to take action to accept the resignation. Because right now he's not officially resigned. The board can't take action right now because we couldn't get on the agenda because we received it today. So as of May 23rd, Freddie will be resigned from the board. At that point, we could have a tentative schedule of what the interview schedule might look like for you and the candidates. The goal would be, because we have 60 days, you have 60 days to get the seat filled, to have it filled for our fill it by our June date, not that long. So that the person could be there within a month. Okay, so we'll get you a rough outline, the questions that you have to refresh your memory, and then Christie will work directly with you. Team kind of work together, say these questions okay, and then just be able to say, yeah, Kevin, we're good, and we'll just get that posted. Okay. Okay. I have Shane's gonna come up and he'll take the human resources part and the things that we talked about last month.
Okay. For your consideration, I have 2 job descriptions. The first is the assistant principal at Washington. And then the second is the student information system coordinator. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
They have everything directly, so. Does anybody have anything that I mean, the only thing that's on the consent agenda tonight is to address the personnel report, I believe.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I would make a motion at this time to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Congrats.
Aye.
Delatier, aye. Hitzke. Aye. Carl,
Aye.
Rose,
Aye.
Mendez absent.
Yeah, I got that. All right. I will make a motion that I move that the Board of Education of Mundelein Elementary School District 75 adopt the establishment of regular meetings of the Board of Education to be held at 470 North Lake Street, Mundelein, Illinois, at 6:30 p.m. as presented, fourth Tuesdays of each month.
Second.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Congrats.
Aye.
Rose,
Aye.
Carl,
Aye.
Hitzke. Aye. Delatier, aye. Mendez absent.
I move that the Board of Education of Mundelein Elementary School District 75 accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the student data information SIS coordinator job description as presented.
Second. Hitzke. Aye. Congrats.
Aye.
Carl,
Aye.
Rose,
Aye.
Mendez absent. Delatier, aye.
I move that the Board of Education of Mundelein Elementary School District 75 accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the following job descriptions as presented. The student data information SIS coordinator and the assistant principal at Washington.
Second.
Rose,
Aye.
Carl,
Aye.
Hitzke. Aye. Congrats.
Aye.
Delatier, aye. Mendez absent.
If there is no further business to come before the board, the meeting stands adjourned at 5:53 p.m. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Someone.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.